the world will never be fair. No matter how righteous you live, there will always be someone who betrays you. No matter how talented or hardworking you are, there will always be someone less capable who takes the position you truly deserve. That is not a tragedy. It is the nature of life itself. Life does not operate on ideals. It runs on power, emotion, and strategy. Those who understand this no longer complain. They begin to learn how to play the game by the rules of reality. There exists a kind of intelligence not born from books or classrooms lit by fluorescent lights, but forged in the darkness of betrayal, failure, and pain. It is called dark intelligence, the energy that awakens when a person is broken, defeated. Yet instead of shattering, they use the very fragments of their pain to sharpen their mind. Ordinary people, when hurt, look for someone to blame. But those with dark intelligence, they are different. They observe and enabay. They do not act out of emotion, but out of purpose. While others rush to argue to prove themselves right, they listen to understand how their opponents think. While others act on instinct, they act with strategy. Dark intelligence is not cruelty, it is awakening. It teaches you that kindness cannot protect you unless it is paired with awareness. It shows you that innocence is a beautiful gift, but in a world full of deceit, it can become a double-edged sword. But remember this, Machiavellian knowledge was never meant to turn you into a manipulator. It was born to free you from manipulation. It allows you to love without weakness, to give without being used, to lead without being swayed. So when you study dark intelligence, do not think you are walking into darkness. Understand that you are opening your eyes within it. Only when you can see both light and shadow within humanity can you truly live with wisdom. Today, we will explore 8 ruthless yet illuminating lessons, principles silently mastered by the world's most powerful individuals. This is not the philosophy of evil. It is the art of survival, mastery, and growth in a world that is anything but easy. Are you ready? Because once you understand these lessons, you will never see the world the same way again. Lesson 1. Calculated opacity. There is a unique power in not revealing everything. The modern world worships transparency, yet sometimes ambiguity is the most sophisticated form of power. Machiavelli once said, "Everyone sees what you appear to be, but few truly know what you are." And that quote is not a call for deceit, but a warning. Those who speak too much expose too much. Most people reveal themselves too early, their fears, their plans, their dreams. They believe it builds trust, but in truth, they are surrendering power without realizing it. When others know everything about you, they can predict you, manipulate you, and even define you. The intelligent, however, master the art of strategic concealment. They share just enough to connect, but never enough to lose control. Intentional obscurity is not coldness. It is the art of controlling information. Because information is the currency of influence. A vague answer, a quiet smile, a well-timed pause. Each can make others wonder, speculate, and think about you. And when they think about you, you all react. Imagine this. Someone asks you what you plan to do over the weekend. The average person replies, "I'll just stay home and watch a movie." The conversation ends there. But if you respond, "I have a few important things to take care of," and smile before changing the subject, you leave a question mark behind. And that question mark makes you interesting, unpredictable, and distinct. The truly powerful, in politics, business, or art, understand this well. They speak little but precisely. They know deeply but never flaunt it. They create an impression without ever needing to explain themselves. Because sometimes, silence is the most powerful form of communication. Speak less, listen more. When you stop rushing to express yourself, you will realize that others will naturally reveal who they truly are. They will tell you everything you need to know, while you still keep what must remain hidden. Calculated concealment does not make you fake. On the contrary, it turns you into a wiser and more strategic version of yourself. Because you are no longer driven by emotion, you are the one controlling the game, with calmness, composure, and mystery. Remember this: true power does not lie in being known. It lies in knowing how much to say and how much wisdom it takes to remain silent. Lesson 2. Adaptive persona. There is an uncomfortable truth few wish to admit. You cannot be the same person in every situation. Life does not demand rigidity, it demands adaptation. The rigid break under pressure, the flexible bend to survive, and stand strong again through understanding. Machiavelli once said, "A prince must know how to appear merciful, faithful, humane, and religious, but he must also be wise enough not to be bound by such virtues." Yes, it sounds contradictory, yet within it lies the secret of psychological power. You do not need to be the same with everyone. You only need to stay true to your essence and adapt how you express it. Observe water. In a cup, it takes the shape of the cup. In a river, it flows freely. In a storm, it becomes a destructive force. But in every form, it remains water. Humans are no different. You are not deceitful for behaving differently in different settings. You are simply intelligent enough to read the environment and tune your energy to match it. The wise never speak to everyone in the same way. To the rational, they speak with facts and logic. To the emotional, they speak with empathy. To the pragmatic, they speak with clear solutions. To the dreamers, they speak with vision and inspiration. This is not hypocrisy. It is communicative intelligence, the art of connecting without losing yourself. The ignorant often confuse honesty with bluntness. They say, "I'm just being myself," using it as an excuse for refusing to grow. But personality is not a prison. It is a material, and you are the artist who must shape it to fit the canvas of life. However, flexibility does not mean surrendering your essence. If you bend too far to please everyone, you dissolve. Be like a diamond, multifaceted, reflecting different lights from each angle, but still one solid core. Once you master the art of self-adjustment, you'll discover a new kind of power. You can make anyone feel comfortable in your presence because you are speaking their language. And when people feel understood, they trust you, open to you, and are naturally influenced by you. Adaptability is not the loss of self. It is the ability to let every version of you serve a unified purpose, to evolve. The truly powerful are not those who stubbornly stay the same, but those who know when to be the wind and when to be the stone. Lesson 3. The principle of detachment. There are invisible threads binding human beings. The fear of loss. We fear losing love, our jobs, our image, the approval of others. And within that fear, we become prisoners of what we love. Machiavelli once said, "It is safer to be feared than loved, if one cannot be both." This statement is not an ode to cruelty. It is a reminder, only the unbound are truly free. Emotional detachment does not mean apathy. It means loving without dependence, caring without being controlled, engaging deeply yet maintaining the distance of reason. Because when you no longer fear losing something, no one can ever use it to control you again. Look around you. How many people accept jobs they hate simply because they fear unemployment? How many stay silent in toxic relationships because they fear loneliness? How many trade their values for approval, for praise, for acceptance? All are controlled by the same invisible force, the fear of loss. Those with dark intelligence understand that true power begins when you are no longer driven by the need for validation. You don't need others to like you in order to know your worth. You don't need to win every argument to feel right. You don't need to cling to anything to feel safe, because real safety comes from within, not from the world outside. Emotional detachment gives you clarity. When you are no longer obsessed with the outcome, your decisions become sharper. When you no longer fear losing someone, you can speak your truth. When you no longer need to prove yourself, you act out of values, not ego. That is why the free are always feared. No one can threaten them with loss, because they have learned to live without attachment. And here lies the irony. Once you stop fearing loss, you begin to attract more respect, love, opportunity, and peace. Start practicing from small things. Don't try to win every argument. Don't expect everyone to understand you. Don't let fleeting emotions make you lose control. When you dare to let go of what cannot be held, your hands become free to grasp what truly deserves to stay. That is the power of detachment, to love without dependence, to live without fear, and to fight without needing to win at all costs. Lesson 4. Silent leverage. True power does not need noise. It doesn't reside in shouting or in grand declarations. It lives in intentional silence, where you no longer need to prove anything, because your very presence already commands attention. Machiavelli once said, "Nothing great is ever achieved without danger." And sometimes, the greatest risk is to remain silent when everyone else is speaking, to stay patient when everyone else is rushing. Because those who understand the deepest truths rarely need to speak first. In this noisy world, people fear silence. When conversation pauses for even a few seconds, they rush to fill the void with words, and in those empty spaces, they often reveal more than they intend. The wise, however, stay silent. They let others speak, expose their thoughts, emotions, and plans. Meanwhile, they simply observe every glance, every choice of word, every shift in tone. Their silence is not withdrawal, it is a strategy for gathering power. Silent influence is the art of making others act in your favor, while believing it was their idea all along. You don't need to force anyone. You simply position yourself correctly, send the right signals, and wait. When others make mistakes, you don't rush to correct them. When they doubt, you let them come to their own realization. Because the right silence carries more weight than 1,000 justifications. In negotiation, silent leverage is revealed through composure. When you are not anxious, not rushing, not afraid to lose, you compel others to adjust their rhythm to yours. In relationships, it manifests as quiet value. You don't have to assert yourself. Your actions speak louder than words. And precisely when you stop demanding recognition, you begin to receive it in abundance. Those with true influence do not compete for the spotlight. They step back, observe, and let others unconsciously revolve around them. They understand that the strongest form of magnetism is the one that requires no effort. Learn to master the silence. Do not rush to react. Do not try to fill silence with words. Let others witness your composure, because in a world where everyone wants to be heard, the one who knows how to stay silent is the one who is heard the most. Silence does not make you weak. It makes you dangerous, in the most subtle and elegant way, like still water that can drown everything once the moment comes. Lesson 5. Psychological echo. Human beings rarely truly listen to one another. They simply wait for their turn to speak. That is why those who listen deeply possess an invisible kind of power. Machiavelli once said, "Everyone sees what you appear to be, but few know who you really are." The wise understand that to see the true nature of another person, you must sometimes become a mirror, one that does not judge, does not interfere, but simply reflects back what they need to see. Psychological echo is not manipulation. It is the art of understanding human nature, where you listen not only to words, but to the pauses between them, the glances, the shifts in tone, and the emotions hidden beneath the voice. Because behind every story lies an unspoken emotion, and behind every action, there is always a fear that commands it. Those who practice psychological echo never rush to give advice. They do not try to fix or to win. They simply mirror the truth of what the other person feels. "I hear that you are hurt." A simple sentence, yet it carries more power than any lecture. Because when people feel truly understood, they open up. And when they open up, they give you access to their inner world, where all real influence begins. Every person carries 3 silent questions within. Do you see me? Do you understand me? Do I matter to you? When you make them feel these 3 things, they will trust you, listen to you, and follow you, without coercion. Remember, the intelligent do not merely hear the words, they hear the meaning behind them. When someone says to you, "I'm tired," they might really mean, "I feel alone." When someone gets angry, they might simply be afraid of being hurt. And when you perceive what others cannot express, you become quietly dangerous, because you touch the deepest parts of their soul. Psychological echo is the skill of natural leaders, great therapists, and those who love with emotional maturity. It teaches you this: to influence someone, you don't need to speak much. You only need to make them feel truly heard. But always remember the ethics of this power. Do not use understanding to manipulate. Use it to heal. Nectetent and getvast. Because in a world where everyone wants to speak, the one who listens with the heart will always hold the deepest power. Lesson 6. Ambiguous morality. We were taught to always be good, always kind, always right. But life does not operate by moral slogans. Reality is far more complex, a place where the line between right and wrong fades like morning mist, and where strength does not come from always choosing what is beautiful, but from choosing what is appropriate for the situation. Machiavelli once said, "If you cannot be both loved and feared, then it is better to be feared." And that is not the creed of a cruel man. It is a warning. Sometimes, kindness is not enough to protect you. A leader who has compassion but lacks courage to act will see their people collapse. A gentle father who is weak will not be able to save his child from the traps of the world. And a person who wishes to do what's right but fears being disliked will forever live in hesitation, where goodness never becomes strong enough to defeat evil. Flexible morality is not the abandonment of principles. It is the understanding that morality does not exist in a vacuum. An action only gains meaning when placed within its context. There are times when truth wounds, but silence saves. There are moments when forgiveness is noble, yet firmness is the truest form of kindness. Those with dark intelligence understand this. Sometimes, to protect what is good, you must do what others will call evil. You may have to fire someone to save the entire team. You may have to say no to someone you love to protect your own integrity. You may have to keep a secret, not out of deceit, but because truth revealed at the wrong time can destroy more than it heals. That is not sin. It is the responsibility of an evolved soul. Flexible morality is the ability to make difficult decisions without losing your humanity. It requires courage, the courage to be misunderstood, to be hated, yet still do what must be done. Because real goodness doesn't always look like goodness. But remember the most important boundary. Flexibility must never become an excuse for selfishness. You may compromise with circumstances, but never with your conscience. You may walk into the gray zone, but never let yourself dissolve into the dark. Hold on to the values that cannot be negotiated: integrity, compassion, and awareness of consequences. Because in the foggy world of right and wrong, the one who can bend without breaking their essence is the one who is truly strong. In the end, what separates the manipulator from the wise is not what they do, but why they do it. Lesson 7. Controlled exposure. In a world where everyone craves to be seen, those who know when to hide become the ones everyone watches. While people rush to share every detail of their lives on social media, their emotions in status updates, their plans in conversations, the quiet ones, those who speak only what's necessary, become mysterious and magnetic. Machiavelli once warned, "Men are so simple and so much creatures of circumstance that he who seeks to deceive will always find someone who will allow himself to be deceived." And this isn't merely about deceit, it is a reminder. Information is a weapon. Every detail you reveal about yourself is a bullet that can be turned against you in the hands of others. And the intelligent know this. You don't have to hide everything, but you must choose carefully what to expose and what to protect. Controlled exposure is the art of subtlety. You speak less than what others expect, yet enough to keep them watching. You give just enough to create connection, yet hold back enough to make them wonder, imagine, and want more. It is precisely this curiosity gap, the unspoken space, that makes you compelling and worthy of respect. Ordinary people believe that oversharing equals honesty. But the wise know that honesty does not mean nakedness. You can be sincere and still private. You can be friendly and still mysterious. In truth, control is the highest form of freedom, because you decide which version of your story is told and when it should be told. In the workplace, controlled exposure grants strategic advantage. Don't reveal all your ideas too soon. Don't lay out every plan. Don't show all your cards at once. When you make others guess, they become cautious. When they are uncertain, they begin to respect you. In relationships, measured sharing protects your emotional value. You don't need to expose every wound to be understood. Keep your deepest layers for those truly worthy. Mystery does not make love distant. It makes it mature because it respects boundaries. And finally, remember, once you reveal something, you can never take it back. Choose your words as you would choose precious gems, rare, bright, and valuable. Those who master controlled exposure are not closed off. They are the authors of their own narrative. And in a world where everyone wants to be known, the one who knows how to withhold is the one who holds true power. Lesson 8. Outcome obsession. There are two types of people in this world: those who want to seem right and those who want to get what they want. The first are busy proving themselves. The second are busy achieving results. And the world always belongs to the second group. Machiavelli once wrote, "Promises made were a necessity of the past, The word broken is a necessity of the present. A brutal yet honest truth. The wise understand that the goal outweighs the form. They do not bind themselves to rigid rules or external opinions. They ask only one question: will this bring me the result I want? When you become obsessed with outcomes, you stop living to please others. You no longer need to win every argument, because you realize that true victory lies not in being right, but in achieving what matters. Those obsessed with results do not waste time in meaningless debates, impulsive reactions, or caring about praise or criticism. They choose the most effective path, even if it's not pretty, not pleasant, not celebrated. In work, they don't perform to look busy. They act to create real value. In relationships, they don't speak to win. They speak to understand and resolve. In self-development, they don't learn to show off. They learn to become better than they were yesterday. Those who are outcome-obsessed possess what most lack emotional discipline. They know when to ignore trivial arguments, when to restrain themselves under provocation, and when to stay silent so others can speak. They don't need to prove themselves every minute, because the final result will prove it for them. But be careful. Outcome obsession does not mean losing your humanity. If you succeed by stepping on others, you haven't won. You've only built a castle on sand. Let every goal you pursue include 3 non-negotiables: integrity, compassion, and responsibility. Because true success is not only getting what you want, but becoming someone worthy of it. When you live with the mindset of results first, emotions later, you cease to be reactive. You become proactive. You stop being a character in someone else's script and start writing your own. That is the power of those who make things happen, people who do not need recognition, because reality itself is their proof. And if you wish to live an extraordinary life, remember this: don't strive to be right in every moment. Strive to be right in the end. The power of dark intelligence. Be honest with yourself. The world is not gentle. It will applaud you when you win and turn its back when you fall. Along life's path, everyone will be betrayed, misunderstood, or underestimated. But among the wounded, 2 kinds of people are born: those who let pain destroy them, and those who sharpen their mind with it. Dark intelligence does not teach you to be cold or manipulative. It teaches you to understand human nature, so you are no longer ruled by naivety. It teaches you to observe instead of react, to choose instead of impulse, and to act with strategy instead of emotion. This is not true darkness. It is light forged in the night, a light that appears only when you dare to face life's rawest truths. Choose one principle from these 8 lessons, just one, and practice it for 7 days. Perhaps the power of silence. Perhaps detachment from negative emotions. Perhaps the art of holding back part of your story. Then observe. You will notice how people begin to look at you differently, with more respect, more attentiveness. And you, calmer, steadier, wiser. The goal is not to manipulate, but to stop being manipulated. Because the world is not only full of villains, it's full of good but weak people. And it is that weakness that turns them into prey. Dark intelligence is the armor of the soul. It helps you love, trust, and live without being used or controlled. True intelligence is not about how much you know, but how you use what you know. Power is not about controlling others, but controlling yourself amid chaos. Morality is not about always smiling. It's about knowing when to be firm and when to be kind. Become the one who understands both your light and your shadow, for only then can you truly live completely. Do not strive to be good in the eyes of the world. Be awake within it. Because dark intelligence does not make you more powerful than others. It makes you fearless. The kind of person who can walk through deceit, failure, and betrayal, and still keep your wisdom, your compassion, and your strength. And finally, remember, intelligence is not merely knowing, it is knowing enough to choose the right path. Power is not control over others, it is self-control. And dark intelligence is not to conquer others, but to conquer yourself.